Today is May the 12th, which is ME CFS Awareness Day. It's also blue for ME, which I've got a bit of a blue t-shirt, which means I support ME, etc. And I've got my blue hat on as well, so I'm all kitted out. ME is something that both me and my wife suffer from. Also, as the title suggests, it's about how I become a web developer because they both tie in with each other. And if only one person watches this video, then I've done my bit for awareness. So anyway, it all started off. I'd come back from Scotland on a holiday, and on that day that I come back, I was seriously ill, very, very poorly. This is about 24, 25 years ago. Anyway, I've got a few notes here, so when you say it's looking down, it's because I can't remember anything. Anyway, so after a while, the doctors thought I had some sort of post-viral syndrome. And as that went on, my blood tests started to come back, whereas the my liver function wasn't very good. And I got to say, it still isn't very good to this day. There's still enzymes that show up. And anyway, so I was in hospital for a time with biopsies and all sorts. Anyway, they come out with that it possibly could have been hepatitis, and I also have something called Gilbert syndrome, which is not unusual in ME. Anyway, so this went on really very, very seriously ill for I was having to live with my parents for about 4 years. I was deathly ill. At some points I thought I was going to die, but as you can see, I'm still here. But then after about 4 years, I started to see some improvement. And then for another 2 to 3 years, I was still very ill, but I could do things, you know. And as I was in this period there, I started to think of, what can you do to work from home? Computers were just starting to take off at that time, or certainly the net was. And anyway, so I decided to get a computer and see what it was all about. And anyway, my mum had been a shorthand typist, so she showed us how to do typing and all that stuff. And I started becoming a bit of an addict, really, spending lots of time on the computer, which has never really changed. So what happened is I started to look around for what I could do from home that wouldn't take too much brain activity and bodily, because I was starting to improve a bit. Anyway, I started looking at web pages and how they were built, and I was looking at the source code of all this stuff, and I thought, yeah, that looks pretty doable, I think. So I started getting books down the library on HTML. CSS wasn't really such a major thing back then. It was just really in its infancy. And anyway, so I thought, wait, I want to take this a bit further to see what I can really do with it. So I started looking for courses online. There was very few of them. I mean, now you've got Udemy, you've got Treehouse, you've got Code Academy, or whatever it is, and a whole host more. But then it wasn't anything like it is now. So anyway, I did find something, and I found like a distance learning college, which is no more, but it was right near where I live. So I got in touch with them. This was I got it in my notes here, about 2002. I got in touch with them, and they come back with prices and that of their courses, and I thought, yeah, that's that's pretty good. So anyway, I enrolled on one of these courses, and it was for web design, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And I didn't know much about JavaScript, although I'd heard about it. So anyway, I did take the course, and it was an intensive course, and it was the first bit was okay, but the JavaScript was really, really difficult. Anyway, in 2003, I passed it. I got all my modules passed, and I don't know how I did it because it really was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. So anyway, I started to, see if I could pick up a few pro bono clients, and work was, you could have tons of the stuff back then. You can't have that as much now because there's people doing themed stuff and that. But back then, everything was, it was on your plate if you could. But I wasn't well enough still to take most of it on. But I did do a few, sites for friends and that stuff. Anyway, at that time I started meeting Miranda, who's through an MA support group. So that was about 13 and a half years ago. And she was living down the country, and I was living in the north. But the thing was is that there was airports right near both of us, so that was taking up me time. And I thought, well, I'll just go back, see what happens if how we go on that. Anyway, we ended up getting married about a year and a half later, and we thought, well, everything would be okay because we were in a good patch, both of us, as health wise, MA wise. So yeah, so it was, and we thought, well, if this remains like this, we'll be able to manage. And I started to try to get some more, few clients and what have you. And again, although it had changed a little bit about the technology, moved on a little bit, but the thing is that you know there was a lot of work out there. There is at times even now, but then everybody wanted somebody who was a web designer or a developer, and you could have made a lot of money, but my health didn't allow it in the main. But I still took one or two jobs. Again, it's clients can be very stressful, and they always know better than you do. They always do. It doesn't matter what you do in graphic design, web design, and photography. The client will always know. The client will look for you, and they'll say, "Oh, can you do this and that and the other?" But when it comes to it, they know actually more than you. That's amazing. They've never done it before, but they know more than you. And anyway, so you just got to let them go. It's I always say the worst sites I've ever done is for clients. And anyway, but in things were okay. And then in 2010, everything came to a head and a right crash. Miranda went seriously downhill with pleurisy. My mother was dying at the time, so I had a wife who was bedridden, and I had my mum dying, and it was like I was in a state, and it was very difficult. My mum died at the end of 2010, so that was a bit of a blessing that she had Alzheimer's and she didn't have a clue who I was. And then, with Miranda, I mean, she's been out very ill since, but 2014, she nearly died. That was really really terrible, and I've never done anything as like sort of anything to do with the web development process. I've done bits and pieces for myself, but I've never done anything for clients since that time. Which I've got to say that the work isn't as good, but the pay is fantastic now. If you it's funny because there's a lot of money out there to even to get a few jobs, and the things I've got to turn down is is quite it's hard really in a way. I know Miranda has to come first, but like sort of it is very difficult when you have to turn down thousands of pounds to like sort of when you offer this you think yeah that's brilliant, but anyway the story is that this illness, we've had a few friends of ours, and they've died through ME. And anybody that thinks that this is just like an illness that is it's just one of those things, it might just be a bit of depression. It's not depression. I'll tell you now, I know what depression feels like. It's nothing like depression. I'd have depression, and I've had it since I was 13 off and on, and I'd have depression any time over ME, and that is the truth. As bad as depression is, because I've had I've got family members who committed suicide and that through it, but ME is in another league. Um, but like with this, it's a very, very serious complaint. There's people who, are so fatigued and paralyzed with this illness that they can't move. I was in that position virtually. Miranda's been in it. She's a little bit better than she was in 2014, but nowhere near well. So yeah, so this is our story, and as I say, if one person looks at this video and I've done my bit, and that's all we can all do, just that bit. We've got to make people aware of what is actually going on. I know the government, with guidelines and things like that, they've got it totally wrong. They've got this great exercise therapy business. It's rubbish. It really is. I mean, like, sort of, it's stupid. You've got to, with ME, you cannot play with it because you can seriously set you back. And anyone from the UK who's watching this video, know this, that I don't get a penny off the government for myself. So if anybody thinks, oh, it's just a bit of laziness, I mean, like, I can show you the jobs I've been offered in the past. But anyway, so it's a twofold thing. It's a twofold message out. Anybody that wants to, I know that I've got quite a few. I've got had a lot of views on the channel now. I'm really, really happy for everybody that supported this channel. At the time of this video, it was about 300,000, and that's brilliant. And I've getting more subscribers than I ever hoped for, and thanks for that. But yeah, just a message about both of my story, and for anybody that is well and thinking of taking up a career in web development, I'd say, yeah, go for it. You'll have to deal with rubbish clients. It's just the way it is. With them, they don't get it. They just don't get what's involved in this thing. I mean, like, we artists. That's basically what you're doing. You're an artist, and people who don't appreciate any art. I mean, they could see Leonardo da Vinci, and they still wouldn't. They still wouldn't know what a good drawing was. Um, but it is, and another thing, to do with web development, always have a contract. Okay, even your friends have a contract, and then nobody can, even if you work in pro bono, always have a contract. Okay, so thanks a lot, and see you soon.